Chapter 3 also has to do with inequalities. So we're going to start out with a word problem about your school soccer team. They're trying to break the school record for goals scored in one season. Your team has already scored 88 goals this season, but the record is 138 goals. With 10 games remaining on the schedule, how many goals on average does your team need to score per game to break the record? So the record is 138 goals. So we want that we're going to score more than that. So we want it to be, greater than 138. So we have already scored 88. That's our constant. We have 10 games left, and we want to know how many goals we need to get at each one of those games. Now, we could score more than that, but if we scored an equal amount each game, how many goals would we have to get each game? So the 88 plus the 10 games that have goals needs to be greater than 138 in order for us to break the record. We're going to do the same thing we've been doing, get our constant terms together, subtract 88 from each side, and we're going to end up with, in the 10 games, we need to get a greater than 50 goals. So if we divided that up equally with those 10 games, each game we need to get more than 5 goals. So if we try to get an average of 5 goals per game, we will be able to break that 138 goal record, school record. Moving on to the next, we're going to just go ahead and solve a multi-step inequality. And this one was just easier to write to begin with so that it would be easier to type, or easier than typing. So we're going to have x over a negative 4 minus 6 is greater than or equal to negative 5. So this is the last lesson. They're throwing a lot of different concepts at you at one time. So we're going to stay calm here, and we're going to do what we do first. Let's get our constant terms together. So I'm going to add 6 to both sides. It still leaves me with x over a negative 4, and negative 5 plus 6 is equal to 1. Now, so far, all I've done is addition in my inequality, so I do that the same I've always done with equations. In my next step, I want to get rid of that negative 4, so I'm going to multiply both sides by a negative 4. Now, do you remember the lesson that was taught earlier about multiplying or dividing by a negative 4? It's going to give me x on this side, but because I multiply by a negative 4, I need to reverse my symbol. So 1 times negative 4 equals negative 4. Let's go ahead and substitute that one in and just check to see how that reversing goes. Negative 4 over, I'm just substituting that in, negative 4 minus 6 needs to be greater than or less than a negative 5. Okay, so that was my original statement there. Negative 4 over negative 4 would equal 1. 1 minus 6 greater than or equal to negative 5. 1 minus 6 is negative 5, so it is equal to negative 5. And let's move on to the last example. We have another story problem, but this one's a multi-step, so be very careful when you're following along with this one. We have you plan to go ice skating often this winter. The skating rink charges $4 for admission. So every time you go to the skating rink, you pay $4. Now, you can either rent your ice skates at the skating rink and you pay $5 per day, or you buy your own pair and you pay just a total one time of $45. So how many times do you have to use the ice skates in order for the cost of buying them to be less than that of the total cost of renting them? So you can see here, I have buying skates. I'm going to make that symbol just a little bit larger. It's hard to see that. Buying skates is going to be less than renting skates. So first of all, let's look at the buying skates. If we buy skates, we're going to have to spend $45 right away. And then we need to add to that $4 for every day we go ice skating. We want that to be less than or equal to if we rent skates. So if we're renting skates, I still need to pay the $4 each day, but I also have to pay another $5 each day for my skates. So let's go ahead and simplify both sides. This side has a constant term and a variable, but the right side I can combine terms because they're like each other. They're both D's, so 4D plus 5D gives me 9D. Now I can go ahead and I can get my terms together. I'm going to subtract my 4D from both sides. Adding or subtracting doesn't change my inequality symbol. I get 5D. I'm going to divide both sides by 5, and I'm going to get that D is greater than 45 divided by 5 is 9. And if I rewrite that, the D, the days, is greater than 9. So the day that that it will cost more is the cost will be less after more than 9 visits. So on the 9th visit, that would still be that we have the same cost, but the next visit it would make more sense to buy my skates. In the past, students have had trouble with this one, so if you need to pause it and rewind and then pause while I'm going through each step, please do so. This one has proved to be a little bit tougher for the students to understand, the multi-step and an inequality. But that does conclude Chapter 3.